Writing underlined pictures, underlined bright and beautiful colors together. Writing is the place I get into versus transfer. From transfer, everything is like taken into account as you go. So in class 3, you are treated as also. You are transferred or yoga. Write in beautiful colors together. Then, then, then useful. Underline the word useful. Asleep, glad, unlike glad. Samantha, are you doing?
Before starting the career added protection, let us review the distance protection at first. So if you can remember that using distance relay, we provide three-step, three-zone protection like this. This was the figure, this type of figure. That is, if they are in a relay near station 1, then it will provide protection up to 90% of the for that line, and remaining 80 to actually 80 to 90%, and remaining 10 to 20% will be provided by the next zone relay, right? So in that way, there are three-step, three zonal protection. So this is the first zone, this is the second zone, and this is the third zone. So how we have given the protection? We differ using different type of relay. We have given the protection. So one means for zone one, two means for zone two, three means for zone three. So for zone 1 protection, there will be a direct protection. That means if there be any fault in this zone, then it will be cleared instantaneously. And for the remaining portion, remaining zone, second zone, there will be a time delay for this particular relay at station 1. Say this relay is operating, then for this one it will be instantaneous, but for the second zone there will be a time delay t1, for the last zone there will be a time delay t2. So in that way we have designed the control circuit. So for zone 1, if there be any fault, then this zone 1 relay will operate and it will directly connect the tip coil to the voltage. And if it is, since it is an impedance relay, so we have needed a one directional overcurrent relay. So then trip coil will be energized. But if there be any fault in zone 2, then that relay will not operate instantaneously. There will be a time delay. So in that case, after a time delay, zone 2 relay will operate. And if there be any, if the zone 3 relay is operating, then there will be again a time delay. And after that time delay, this zone 3 relay will energize the trip coil. This was the idea. I am just giving the recapitulation so that you can relate it with the carrier aided common distance protection. But what happens in this case? Say here actually say we are giving protection using this relay. Say for the line section 1 2. So it is very difficult for the relay at station 1 to identify the difference in fault just before station 2 and just after station 2. But there is a huge difference in fault, because if it is before station 2, then current will flow in this direction from bus 2, and if it is beyond bus 2, then current will flow in opposite direction. So there is a 180-degree change in current, but it is very difficult to identify from the station at relay was the relay at station 1. So if it is possible to if we can transmit this information to station 1, then it will be very easy for the station relay at station 1 to decide whether to trip or not, because this relay will trip only if there be fault in line section 1 2, otherwise not. So this information is very much important at station 1. So that can be done by any information interchange. So we need one carrier, we need a communication system to transmit that one. Otherwise, there may be false stepping, there may be unnecessary tipping using distance relay. So that is actually the protection, the potential of pilot relaying or the carrier aided relaying that we shall learn today.
Ma'am, how it is working when the fault is occurring near the bus 2? Means,
Hmm?
ma'am, how the release working
Relay
if
at
the fault?
station 1.
Yes, ma'am. If the fault is occurring near the bus 2.
Near the bus too, if in the conventional protection, three step three zone protection, it is very difficult for relay at station 1 to identify discriminate the fault before beyond bus 2 and fault just before bus 2. Okay, so in both the cases it will operate. That is called the fault near to the bus. It will only happen when the fault is near to the bus. So that's why if this any information is given into this session 1 relay, if we give the direction of actually say phase of current, then phase of fault current is 120-degree apart, just before bus 2 and beyond bus 2, and that will help the relay at session 1 to operate for the suitable reason. Understood?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, but can't we say that relay of zone 2 will operate first because it is nearest to the bus 2?
Relay at no. Say three step, say this relay. There is a so relay
If
at
the
zone
any
2 is
fault.
the primary relay. Okay. So primary
Okay.
say relay at this if these two relay are primary relay for bus 2 and this relay is the backup relay. So when there is a zone 3, the 3 zone protection, that means when there is a fault near to bus 2, that means this is operating as a backup relay, then obviously zone 2 relay will operate at first, but it will if it is operating, then how long it will operate, whether it will
Yes.
operate or not. So it
Yes,
will
ma'am.
operate only when the fault is in between 1 2, otherwise not, that I want to say.
Yes, ma'am.
And there is another scheme also. If the, in a this is one scheme of three step three zone protection. Along with that, another scheme also there. This is that. So in a radial power system, we may provide three step three zone protection to give complete protection in this way. Then in that case, we give the protection by the shortest line, then the longest line, and then for the medium line. So in that way, we give the three-step three-zone protection. You just review this one. I have already taught this thing. So in that way, actually, what happened that what I was discussing that they say there is a protection scheme. Say we want to give provide protection for the line section 1 2, right? So this zone A relay or this B relay will operate only when there is a fault in between the line section 1 2. But if there be a fault just near to the line section near to the bus 2, but beyond the line section 1 2, then these two relay A and B cannot discriminate that one. It will operate. So how we can discriminate that one only by identifying the direction of fault current, because direction of fault current in both the cases will be different. So in that case, we need to interchange information from station 1 to station 2. So say locally it may be possible. Station B relay can identify this fault current. There may be some local arrangement and this relay may trip. But it is very difficult for station A to identify this difference. So it is required to transmit this information to station A. That's why this is called, there is a information interchange is required. So that is may be done using pilot wiring. Pilot wiring means actually it will change, send the information through some wire. Those are called pilot wire. They are um, low carrying current, low current carrying conductors like that. And for the advanced type of distance protection, we use transmitter receiver to provide the distance protection and to control the relays in different zone. Understood? So
Yes.
in that case, actually, what happened? If there be any fault in say near station B, then obviously this B, the relay at near zone station 2, that means relay B should operate at first, but relay A will not become standstill at that time. The timer will start operating and relay will also start rotation, but it will operate after some time of relay B because it is a secondary protection, or so it is a secondary protection for the fault in station 2. But whether this tripping is right or not, that is to be decided. So that's why whether the fault is within line section 1 2 or not, that is to be decided. So that's why actually this information interchange is required.
Ma'am, recording has not started.
Hmm?
Ma'am, recording has not started.
I have not given the recording. It is not required actually. So, actually the thing is that we want to get the what is happening near station 2 during fault or during normal condition at station B. We want to get that information. Then how we can get the information? So there must be some transmitter which will transmit the information from station B, and there must be some receiver at station A to receive that one, and vice versa. Similarly, if station A will continuously transmit the information to station B, and station B will receive that one, and that transmitter and receiver should be connected to relay to take the proper decision or proper operation. Now, the pilot protection, or the pilot means to the media through which the signal transmit. You know better than me this type of this communication. But when the only separate wires run, then it is called wire pilot. When we use transmitter receiver, then we call it carrier pilot. When we use microwave communication, wireless communication, then we call it microwave pilot. Here I shall discuss mainly the carrier pilot. For wire pilot relaying, actually the information city current actually should go to the from one zone to another and vice versa. So in that case, how we can implement the protection? By using the differential protection. So if we use current, then it is current circulating current principle. Similarly, if we use voltage, then it is opposed voltage protection. The scheme is same as the differential protection, but we are using the current and voltage of the opposite section, so that it can be overlapped or interchanged in that way. Next is actually, so this is actually done for the short transmission line. For long, it is not possible, because for long line, there are so many so many complications in long line. There is attenuation of the signals, so that will affect this carrier by this pilot varying signal through the pilot wires. So that will not be so much acceptable for the relay operation. So this wire pilot relaying is applicable only for short distance protection. That means short line protections. But for long line, we go for the carrier current relaying or the microwave relaying. What is carrier current relaying? Actually, same transmission line is used. There is no other communication, other line, no where pilot wires are there. Actually, from transmission line, the information is trapped and given to the transmitter, or and it is supplied to the transmitted to the other end. Say for example here, so this is a transmission line between two buses. Then there is a line trap. What is that line trap? Trap means it will allow only the 50 hertz frequency to flow, because through the transmission line power should flow. Okay, and the fault signal, when there is a fault, that signal should not go. That signal should be um, processed by the uh, protection system. So line trap is given that under normal condition, under 50 hertz frequency, the power will flow through the circuit. But when there is a fault, when there is a high frequency signal, then that will flow through this that will trap through this coupling capacitor. Coupling capacitors will provide low impedance path for the high frequency signal and high impedance path for the low frequency or 50 Hz signal. So only the high frequency signal will pass through it, and it will be provided to the relay, right, in that way. So the detailed scheme is it is not given here. Only the only for understanding I have drawn it. So actually, what will happen there? So relay will whatever information is given is available to relay. It will transmit it to the transmitter with a time delay to this circuit, coupling circuit. Otherwise, it may receive the same signal from the other end through the receiver. So in that case, this transmission line will act as the communication line. You may say in that way. That's why it is carrier current, carrier aided distance communication or distance protection. This thing you read yourself. I think it is not required for me. Whatever I have told, it is written here more or less in more descriptive way. What will be the attributes of ideal current carrier channel? Carrier channel means that will carry the signal. So it should allow the 50 Hz frequency at normal condition, and abnormal condition, and it should provide the high frequency signal to the transmitter in that way. And there are various possible carriers, you know all these, but here we are using power transmission line as a carrier. That's why it is called power line carrier communication or PLCC. Actually, this is the one scheme. This is single line to ground coupling. That means one line to ground coupling is used for mm, interchanging the signal. So here line trap I have told you that it will block the carrier. Carrier means high frequency signal. It will only allow the low frequency 50 Hz frequency to pass on. And this LHCS, it will trap the high frequency signal. It will give the low resonance path for the it is actually resonating frequency. It is tuned at the resonating frequency of high frequency signal. So it will give high impedance path for the 50 Hz frequency and low impedance path for the higher frequencies. So in that way, the high frequency signal will be available at this point, say here. Now this is a parallel path, parallel resonance circuit. You know, parallel resonance circuit provide high impedance path. So that signal will cross across a high impedance path. So there will be a voltage, sufficient voltage will be available. So that through this transformer maybe will be available to the transmitter or receiver as it is applicable. Similarly for the other end. So this is single line to ground coupling. Similar way, line to line coupling is also available. So single line to ground coupling is easy, but the difficulty is that in transmission line, most of the faults are single line to ground fault. So when there is a fault, then this line will not be capable to carry the current, carry the signal properly, because that it has inherent fault. Then it cannot carry the signal in proper way. So for that reason, we go for line to line coupling. Anyway, the use of the circuit I have described here. The series circuit resonate at carrier frequency. That means it gives the zero impedance almost, so it provides good coupling for the carrier frequency. Similarly, parallel circuit resonate at carrier frequency, so it gives the high impedance path, so we can get a maximum voltage at carrier frequency that helps to extract the maximum signal. And it is the coupling capacitor CS has high frequency, high impedance for the 50 Hz frequency, so it will not be trapped by that. And obviously, the line trap will be will resonate at 50 Hz frequency. What is the limitation that I have told? That 50, the problem is the single line to ground coupling is that for the most of the faults are single line to ground fault. So during single line to ground fault, it will be difficult to transmit the information. That's why we go for the line to line coupling. Same scheme, but it is different. 1 minute. So generally we use this line to line coupling mostly, because in line to line fault is quite unnatural, and we can use this one for any type of fault. Now there are different type of scheme for that. If you forget about this TXRX, then otherwise this scheme is known to you. You see, this is in case of three-step three-zone protection, there was three relay. There were three relays, Z1, Z2, Z3. Instead of that, here there are two relays, one or two relays. One is Z12, another is Z3. That means one single relay is used, and there is a facility to change the range of that relay. So this Z12 will give the protection for the zone 1 only when this range change relay is not activated. When this range change coil will be activated, then this Z12 relay will change its range from zone 1 protection to zone 2 protection. And T3 is the timer for zone 3, T2 is the timer for zone 2, the same control circuit that I have shown you. And this strip means strip coil of the circuit breaker. So whenever there is a fault in one zone, you must remember in one end, then transmission it should transmit that signal to the another end, because transmit if the receiving another end is receiving the signal, then if the zone this the actually the near end relay is fail to operate, then the rear end relay can operate. For example, here say in the station 1 or say station A, because in note it is written in station A, if there be any fault in station A, then obviously the relay near station A will operate, but it should start transmitting the information to station B through this communication line, so that if this fails, then after a time delay, the relay at station B should operate. So this should be the philosophy. So in that way, it is one scheme. It is called intertrapping scheme. What is the idea? Idea is to trip the remote end breaker through a carrier signal when the fault occurs close to the near end. So near end means this one. So it will send a signal to the remote end to trip when the fault is near to the station near end. That means when there is a fault in near to the station 1, then it will uh, start transmitting the signal to station 2. Now what will be the method? Same as the three-step three-zone protection. So at first, when the if the relay if the fault is within the 80% protection zone, then Z12 is the contact of Z12 relay will operate. Okay. And so Z12 is the contact of combined first zone and second zone mode relay. Mode relay because there is we have not given any distance relay, sorry, directional overcurrent relay, which is normally set for first zone up to 80% protection of line section. So up to this much. Then for a fault within this section, first zone mode relay picks up and trips the near end breaker instantaneously, obviously. This is the primary protection. It also energizes the transmitter relay TX, which send carrier signal to the remote end. Why? Because if it is fails, then only the faults will be will remain within the system, and the near the far end relay will able to operate, otherwise not. So this transmitting uh, is given, this transmission of data is given only to enable the far end relay to give the protection as the backup one, if I say in that way. For a fault within the remaining 20% of the protected line section, fast zone relay does not pick up, you know that, but still tripping takes place as the receiver relay contact is RX is energized by transmitted carrier signal. When there is a transmitted carrier signal, then in this scheme particular, this receiver relay energized automatically. So for the 20% also this will operate for this particular scheme. For external fault of fast zone, elements never pick up and hence carry all the carrier uh, transmission will stop. So if there be any external fault, then obviously this relay will operate, we will not operate. So this transmitter cannot start the transmission. So it will not be transmit any data. Even if the carrier channel fails, the faults are cleared by the second zone and the third zone delay with a time lag. So if this is fails, it is not affecting anything, because the same scheme as the three-step three zone protection, this T2 and T2 T3 timer will operate after a time lag, whatever it is provided, and the zone 3 and zone 2 relay will operate operate in a sequence. So at first, T2 timer always have provided with lesser time setting than the T3 relay. So when the T2 timer will reach its time setting, then this then change relay will operate, and then Z12 relay will now operate for the Z2, and after some time lag, this T3 timer will be operated. So this will short this one, and as well as this J3 relay will operate. Understood? So in this way, the intertapping scheme is adopted.
Ma'am, can you repeat it again? What is the significance of TX and RX? Why we are using
TX
that
and
term?
RX.
Okay, okay.
TX is given, say for transmission at the for transmission of the information to the receiving end. That means at the far end. Okay. So when there is a fault, then obviously this signal, this Z12 relay will operate. So this will be sorted, and TX will start transmission. At the same time, this receiver relay, for this scheme, receiver relay is close this contact, because receiver relay is activated, and then it will operate it will trip the for the zone 1 fault. Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So whatever I have told, that for the remaining two zones it will also operate, that is due to the timer operation. Next is permissive inter-trip under-reaching scheme. So this was the inter-tripping scheme. Now, due to this, there may be one underreach or overreach. Underreach means relay will not to the scheme will not to operate for the whole length of the line, and overreach means it will operate over the length of the line. Now you see, this is required because what you have seen, that there is a direct connection of RX to the trip circuit. So it may cause the maloperation, because it is due to noise or anything. If it is a direct connection, then it will automatically trip that one. So it should be prohibited. So in this connection, relay contact RX is put in series with third zone impedance relay. So when the third zone impedance relay will operate, then only this relay will operate, otherwise not. Thus, the carrier receiver relay can only trip if the Z3 contact is also closed, indicating farm fault. So otherwise this will not operate. The primary distance protection is a zone 2 protection extend beyond the remote end. 1 minute. So, okay, this is the overreach. Okay, overreach, for overreach actually this will be connected. Okay, so for overreach, if there is a zone 2 protection, there is a fault in zone 2, then also here you see this if this contact is closed, then tripping signal will not be given until and unless this relay signal is given. This receiving this are the receiver relay contact is given. So for that reason, this is required for this over tripping scheme. If these two are closed, then only this trip will be possible. Otherwise, not. Other things are remaining same. What is the main drawback? Scheme being carriers, for this scheme, carrier signal is essential, because if this receiver relay is not closed, then this tripping scheme will not be initiated. So this is the drawback of the permissive inter-trip over sketching scheme. Similarly, for under-reaching scheme, there is a drawback. একটু soundটা কম কর। If there is a problem that it is not creating the overall protection, it is giving some under-reaching problem. So to overcome that, there is a carrier acceleration scheme. Then in that case, the receiver relay contact is given with the parallel with the transmitter relay. Don't sorry, timer 2 relay. Timer 2. What is the advantage? In that case, the primary protection is not hampering by in any way, because it has no relation with the receiver relay. So first 80% protection will be instantaneous, and for that this strip coil will be energized, right? And transmitter will start up when the timer 3 will operate, otherwise not. So a combined zone 1 zone 2 relay element is utilized also in this scheme, which is initially set about 80% for the protected line length. This element is also responsible for starting carrier transmission after occurrence of fault. So when this is shorted, then it will get the signal, but if it is not sorted, then signal transmission only possible when the zone 3 timer is operated. Receiver relay contact is now placed in parallel with zone 2 timer contact, and their function is only to actuate the range change relay. What is the function of range change relay? Range change relay will change the range of this Z12. So initially it was 80%, now it will be changed to the 150%. So actually this one. Initially it was for zone 1, now it will be go for zone 2. Thus, the faults of for within 20%, 20 to 80% of the line length Z12 at both end trips simultaneously and clear the fault. Right? For external fault, the carrier signal is totally stopped because the first zone relay will not pick up. So for any external fault, why I am telling about external fault every time? Because external fault in this case is like this. This is zone 1, this is zone 2, then this is zone 3. So for this, if we get line 1 section 1 2, then this is the external fault. For 1 3, this is the external fault. For 1 4, this will be the external fault. So for external fault, in any case, this zone 1 relay for this particular external fault will not pick up, so the transmitter will not start. So in that way. For end zone faults, the near end Z1 to pick up and sends a carrier signal to the remote end. RX relay, receiver relay at remote end picks up and actuates the range change relay, where upon Z12 is now set for Zen2. Now you must remember, this control circuit is applicable to both the end. So in that way, it will be it will be it will give protection to both the zone. Please wait for some time. I have to. Actually, this carrier aided protection have different type of scheme. I am just trying to explain you some scheme. There are several schemes are available. Only some basic schemes I am explaining to you. So this is the career acceleration scheme. Now this scheme is bit slower than the interactive scheme, as the range change delay takes some time because there is a timer through that, and through that receiver relay it will be activated. But still it is better than the intertripping scheme because it will not give any mal-operation. It will prevent that one. So in that way, carrier acceleration scheme is better. So what are the limitation I have told? Then next is carrier blocking scheme. This is another scheme. What is the difference in this? Here, actually, the each station is fitted with this one. Actually, it will block the transmission. I think at normal condition, and under abnormal condition, it will transmit that one. So the same scheme here you see, this is ZR is the there here one offset relay is used. So that is actually given in series with the timer, and it is given to the transmitter. Let me read. Z3, I think it will be T3. Let me know. Z3, I think zone 3 relay. I have not written anywhere. Yes, Z3 is the zone 3 relay, and Z2 is the, how we have written for the others. Yes, Z3 is the zone 3 relay. I have not mentioned it here anyway. So actually you see, this is the this is one ZR, this is one offset mode relay is used along with in series with the Z3. So it is normally closed, and receiver relay is normally closed. But if the Z3 relay is operating, then what will happen? Then it will be open. So if the Z3 zone 3 protection is given, then transmitter will be blocked. Otherwise, it will operate, right? So under normal condition, it will operate. I think under abnormal condition, it will block. So in that way. So you see, there are these things are same as the earlier. There may be two cases. One is, say for fault at near station B, ZRB relay that operate at that end, and depending on whether fault is within offset zone or not, right? So if it is operate, say if it is within offset zone, then breaker at B trips instantaneously if the fault falls within the first zone of the relay. So this relay, the Z12 will operate. Okay. But if ZRB does not operate, then breaker A trips with a short time delay through relay contact path Z3. Yeah, how to explain? So actually, this is the characteristics. So this is, say, um, the offset relay for zone A. This is the offset relay for zone B. So if there be any offset relay, for offset relay we change the characteristics. So we change the operating zone that ones for of that relay. So for a particular, for all impedance within the tripping zone will not, the relay will not operate. But if for a part of that it will operate. So that type of relay is given in this carrier blocking scheme. Now, two things may happen, that if there be any fault in the remote end, say here or here in station B, then whatever the offset relay at station B, that the impedance due to that fault, impedance fall due to how the impedance relay operate. Actually, I increases, so BI by I decreases. sorry, V by I decreases. So it is actually then fall within the trip zone and relay operate. Now when there is a offset is set, then whenever a fault near station B, then how far is it is for the station from the station B, here or here, depending on that. Offset relay is like that. It was the relay, an offset impedance relay maybe here, depending on the how you have set the biasing. Then whether the impedance developed due to this fault is within that relay zone or not, then that relay will operate, otherwise not. So relay may operate, may not. So if the relay operate, then how it will how the thing will go on, and if the relay does not operate, then how the real things are will go on. That I am trying to discuss. Then say the relay at fault B, for fault at station B, ZRB relay at that end may operate, or whether when the fault is within the offset zone. So if it is within the offset zone, then obviously breaker of that end will trip. So breaker of that end it trips means, so in that case, this control circuit you assume for the zone B, then Z12 will operate, right? Now, if ZRB does not operate, then breaker A trips after a short time, say ZRB does not operate. Then what will happen? That means this, what is, after a short time delay to the, then Z breaker A will operate. Obviously, in that case, breaker A will operate. If this is not operating, the breaker A will operate obviously when there is a third, the ultimate the protection condition. That means the third zone protection. Then obviously when the third zone relay will operate. So through the third zone relay, then the this third zone relay, where is it? Third zone relay, through it this trip signal will be given through this time delay, because this Rx is already operated. But if the ZR or that offset relay is not operating, then transmission cannot be start. So the transmission will be blocked. So Rx at station A remain closed as carrier transmission from station B has not started, because ZRB contact of transmitter at B is not closed. So that's why it is called the carrier blocking scheme. Similar thing can happen if the ZRB and Z3 at NB operate simultaneously and open its contact. Then at transmitter at station B, thus carrier from station B is not started. So in both the cases, when there is, if the ZRB and Z3 operate simultaneously, then the operation will not be started. That's why it is called carrier blocking scheme. Or in short, when there will be a fault and it will be protected by third zone relay, then the transmission will not take place. Otherwise, if the third zone relay does not operate, then only this transmission will take place. So this is called the carrier blocking scheme. So this three scheme I have discussed. You go through by relating with this three-step T-zone protection, by reviewing that one when I have taught you, when I have taught the distance relay. And that's all for my syllabus. But still the relay, so many things are there, so many confusion may arise. So if you feel that one, then you communicate over mail or phone, then I shall take the classes. Okay, but now it is your turn to read, to interpret, and to raise the question so that I can continue. That is
Okay.
for all for my part.
Thank you.
And I have not given the protection, motor protection I can also cover, but I think it is quite huge for your syllabus. So if you think that you want to know motor protection, then I can take more class. Then you discuss among yourself and communicate me over mail. And for any for any confusion, if it's a major confusion for the for many of your class, then it is better to take the class in Google platform again. The link will be same. Okay, that's all for today.
Ma'am, for any doubt, we have to communicate
Yes, yes.
via mail or WhatsApp.
No, very very small confusion. If I can tell you over phone, then you can call me also. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I have any class or any other thing, then I shall give you some other time. It may happen that you are calling at that time. I have some other class. Then I shall tell you. You call me sometime after some time. Okay.
Okay, yes,
And if
yes,
I think that it is not possible to explain over the phone, it's some drawing or some explanation is required, then I shall take the same link and explain. Understood.
yes,
And the problem I have, you have told me that that thing is 3L fault and 3LG fault yesterday. I thought over that one, but I think that zero sequence current may actually I have not gone through any example, but I think that when we do the fault analysis for three phase fault, we connect the fault point with ground. Okay, so we calculate the things per phase basis. So per whatever current we are calculating, that is phase current. Fault current means that is phase current.
yes,
So three phase fault, when we are calculating, that means that that current is flowing per phase. If you see the examples regarding that, that means that fault currents per phase. But when if we calculate the ground current, what current is flowing through the ground, then that current will be summation of all those. But it is to think that in that case all the current will be 120-degree apart, or all will be in same phase. That I have to think about that, because if they are all 120-degree apart, then summation of current will be zero. But I
yes,
don't think so. Actually, I have not explored that one. Then in that case, fault current will be there. It is sure fault current will be there. But that shorted point to ground current, whether it will be zero or summation of that I have to explore. You also explore that one. If you get any information, then you tell me. If I
yes,
get any particular problem with data, then it will be easier for me. Understood. But for my assumption is that obviously current will flow, because it is a short and it is short edge path, and when if it is connected with ground, it is getting a lower impedance path. Any circuit, if you connect it with ground, then it will current will flow. So in that way current should flow. But generally in any book in academics, always the problems is are given as the three phase fault. Three phase to ground fault is not given. Okay, and I have not got any type of problem like this in any paper or anything. So if you get anything of that, then it will be easier to explain or analyze for me. Otherwise I think that the current will flow, maybe summation of current. Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes, follow.
ma'am, one more doubt. Ma'am, why we used to represent that EMF in the positive sequence of current only? Why not in the
What?
negative? Ma'am, why only we used to represent that EMF in the positive sequence of impedance while we...
Because generator cannot generate any negative sequence impedance. Generator is designed in that way. It is always how what is the synchronous generator generate? Always three voltages 120-degree apart. If the RYB is the phase sequence, in the same phase sequence, it never generates any voltage in opposite phase sequence, is not it? So
Yes,
if if there be any unbalancing applied in the so purposefully we do not apply. But if any unbalancing is coming in the generator due to fault, then to oppose that one there is a very only the leakage impedance type thing. Only a very low negative opposite magnetic field will be magnetic field rotating in the opposite direction will be developed. So that's why negative sequence reactance is far lower than the positive sequence reactance in case of generator. Because generator inherent is the positive sequence reactance. There is no negative sequence reactance. Negative sequence reactance only develop when there be any disturbance coming from the outside. But from the design point of view, it is not given there. That's why.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Got it.
Okay. Because the
Thank you.
field, the rotation of field, the say prime mover, you are giving rotor field, DC field in rotor is given in that way. Positive, the voltage will be induced only as RYB, never RBY. In that way. That's why.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.